So welcome to the AFT Construction Podcast, and I'm super excited because we have Paul and Susan with us, so welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. It's so nice to hear your voice, Brad.
Okay, we're going to have to try to get through this. You know, the funny thing is, so I met Paul and Susan Kadilak with Kadilak Homes. We've been friends on Instagram for a long time, social media. I'm a huge fan of everything you do in the content you put out because the energy you both have. You know, I had to eat a big breakfast this morning just to make sure that I'm going to keep up with you today. For this episode, but we met in Orlando, at the last Builder show, and my stay was a little short, but it was fun to meet at dinner the night of. And so maybe to get started here, because there's a lot of good questions I have for you, but what made you create your own app?
So, the app, I think, was just kind of a natural extension of what we've been doing. We've been doing videos for our business for the past, 4 or 5 years, and that, we kind of started that as...
Well, let's rewind a little bit on that. We'll go to kind of how it initially came.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a big answer to that question. I have so many more things.
Yeah. It's not as cut and dry. Susan came to me a few years ago, and she was, we're just so people understand, we're involved in the real estate, the construction, the design, anything that has to do with the house. We're involved in that. Finding people homes, tearing them down, building them new ones, renovating them completely. We do our own projects like that where we'll maybe tear a house down or renovate it completely and sell it. Design the whole thing. People text Susan on a Sunday like, "Hey, will these pillows go with the couch on the room you just finished?" So we're fully engulfed in that. Susan had a coach that she would talk to about real estate stuff, and I hopped in the truck one day. She was on her call with her, and she's like, "You guys need to do video," she says to Susan. Susan's like, "What?" And
I was like, what are we going to do? We're not doing video.
and they've been preaching about doing video for a while because, that's the way things are going. So her coach said, "I'm not talking to you till you do a video." And she didn't talk to her for how long?
It was 2 weeks. So I said, okay, she didn't say what kind of video we have to do. No, this was for the real estate business. So I said, I didn't want to mess up, put out, a bad video on the real estate side. So I said, let's practice on the construction business. That way, if it's not, if it doesn't go well, we can just scrap it and it's not a big deal. So we very quickly hired a videographer and started putting out video. The first day he came, he said, "Should we talk about what we're going to do?" I was like, "No, we're just going to go shoot and then figure it out later." So that's kind of what we did. And that's kind of how it all started. And then the construction videos that were supposed to be a test for the real estate videos kind of took on a life of their own.
Yeah, I don't think we anticipated them to snowball as kind of as big as they did, and people.
It's really because of Paul.
I don't think so.
Let me say this because here's the funny thing, and we're going to have all your social media at the end of this, and we'll have it tagged in the show notes, right, for those listening, because they're going to have to do some R&D on you guys because there's some videos that Paul does, and seriously, there was one I was watching, and I laughed so hard. My wife's like, "What are you watching? What's so funny?" And so. As I speak to people, even for years they've said video content, right? This is the future. It's video, it's video, it's video. And there's a lot of advantages, whether it be you can show personality, you can be a thought leader. There's so many different avenues to take with video, right? And this is why you've captured that. And so how is the video more from, as you're mentioning, we're at the beginning, you're just like, hey, my coach isn't going to talk to me unless I do a video, to now we're really seasoned. We know the direction we're going.
We were terrible when we first started doing it. I think people think that they got to do their first video and be like this, off the charts,
Well, let's be clear. I was terrible. Paul was great. He's always been great at it.
I was tolerable enough. That's maybe the term to put. But it's a process. You watch yourself, you get better. You hope you get better, and then as we brought more people onto our team to develop things, it was. We're very fortunate we have the right people that work with us. We always like to say work with us, not for us, because they could really choose to work wherever they want. But we're appreciative of what our team on every facet does for us with either the video side or the construction or the real estate or the girls in the office. So, the culture for us is a big deal.
Yeah. And I would say with the videos, as we started it was really about documenting what we were doing, not trying to produce stuff or create stuff, because Paul is...
We're not actors.
He comes up with stuff on his own at any given moment, a lot of weird things, and he just does them and we just capture them and, put it out there. So they've done really well for us. The first year that we started putting out video, even though they were terrible, our revenue increased 60%. So we were like, okay, we're going to keep doing this and we're going to keep it going. And then it kind of evolved, into longer videos and different types of videos and people commenting and asking for certain type of content. And, we've done a bunch of different things, and that kind of led us to the app, which is, we filmed a local home renovation show here in Boston, and people were asking, where can I see it? Can people in different parts of the country, people have family who wanted to see it. So that's kind of where the app came into play, because it was just kind of a natural extension of what we were already doing. And it's also how people watch now, right? Like a lot of people don't sit down and watch a show at a certain time every week. They want to be able to stream it. They want to be able to watch it when they want. So it was just kind of the next natural thing of, kind of being where people are and putting it in a place where it was accessible.
So I'm going to come back to the app side, but what's interesting, I mean, you made a couple comments there about, and it just kind of shows your attitude. I should say your gratitude. Your attitude of gratitude, we'll put it that way, right? That you're thinking, hey, people work with us, not for us, right? And I think just as a business owner, that mentality, it makes me want to work for you, right? Because it just changes this whole, it's not like owner-employee, it's more a relationship thing, right? And that's a big part of culture. But what I love that you said too, Susan, you talked about the revenue, you saw revenue change. And I think this is a big sticking point. A lot of people I speak with, they're like, well, I'd love to do video. And maybe there's two parts to this question, because you both can give some advice, because you mentioned, Susan, in the beginning, you're like, I'm terrible at it. But, the thing is, a lot of people are like, I don't like how I look at camera. I don't like hearing my voice. I don't want to come on the podcast because my voice, or I don't want to see myself in video. So there's that advice. Like, how do you get through that hurdle? And then also the investment side, because this isn't free. Like, it takes time. There's cost to edit. There's cost to hire a videographer. What made you, I know your coach said that, but to take that jump and realize, hey, there is an ROI on this, but I have to stick with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me in particular, because I hate hearing my voice, if anyone does not want to be on camera, it's me. Paul, he's ready. He's made for this. But for me, just seeing what it has done for the business and how people react to it, especially doing the show, like seeing how people react, once we reveal the space to them and they're seeing it for the first time, like that really has kind of changed my attitude to just be like, just kind of embrace it and do it. And, there's a lot of good that comes out of it. So it's just kind of like I needed to just get over myself, I think, which I'm still trying to do. Some days I'm still not like, okay, I'm not.
She'll never look worse than me, because, I'm the jester, so, she's much more poised. We both can't be jesters, so.
That's your job.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like, why do people go to social media? Why do they go to stuff? For a couple of reasons, right? One, some people go for information, some people go for entertainment a lot of the times, right? They're at work, they're bored, they're commuting, whatever it is. They're at a meeting they don't want to be at, who knows? But they're always going on to be entertained. And I have the attention span less than a squirrel, I would say. Probably a squirrel probably can hold better than me. But I think people, they don't go to be like, I want to hear what Paul did on his Mensa exam. They want to see kind of silliness and fun. And for me, if I laugh at something, it is much more something that I remember and retain. Even, the way the medicine delivered matters for me, so like if I get it in a much more fun, joking way, I will retain that information versus just droning on about a certain subject or anything. And that's just me, how I learn. Like Susan loves to read. I don't. I love to listen to podcasts and listen to books and tell people I read, but it's really listening to books.
We call Paul the CFO. He's the chief fun officer.
It's true.
So
story.
He, I kind of go into the boring explanations, and he's like, no, we got to deliver it. And, it's the way you deliver it matters, right? So he's really great about that, because I'm very boring.
Well, I mean, you can probably understand this, but people in every profession has a language of love, so to speak, is what I like to say, right? So construction has their thing. Scientists talk about things that we wouldn't understand. Doctors talk about things we wouldn't understand, right? So every profession has a language of love, and not everybody understands that. That's why they come to you. You're the expert. So Susan is so well versed in what we do, and when she explains it, I just watch people and their eyes glaze over, and they're just like, it's going over the head. Not because they're intelligent people. It's just when you don't know those processes, it can be confusing. And I think people are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to feel like,
like,
is this a dumb question?
Yeah, like they're not intelligent or whatever.
Correct, right. And it's like we shouldn't expect them to understand it really. So layman's terms is the way I roll, because it's just like that's the easiest way to understand things. So I take Susan's language and I break it down into layman's terms for clients that they understand.
That's very good perspective, Paul, because the reality is, I see this too a lot of times when, I do a lot of our business development, right, for the company. But, when I integrate some of our team and we have meetings, with the clients, and as you're getting into this, and my team's very technical, as you mentioned, like Susan, where they're maybe talking about a hip or a gable or a cricket or something on the roof, right? And the client's kind of staring at them like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so, as you mentioned, like we have to, there's a language, and this is really important. And this comes back to be successful, you have to set clear expectations. And the only way to do that is to make sure you're on the same page. And if someone's not understanding the process or the verbiage or whatever it may be, and we're not bringing them in, that already starts us off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, I'm like gable, big one. Nobody gets it, right?
I'm like, what do you mean it's a gable? What do you not get?
It's just like a gable, and I'll see them looking, and I go like this. I go, if you look at the side of the house, the A, they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's what the gable is.
Exactly.
And I go, okay, so it's just breaking it down just a little bit more so that they can relate the information enough that they feel comfortable, So again, I feel like people just don't want to ask you questions because they don't want to feel, he's going to think I'm an idiot if I ask him, but it's like, no, you shouldn't understand. That's why we're here. That's why you hired us.
Well, it's funny because I think the videos, and we'll get into this question about, how that's built your brand, right? When you start thinking about your personality, the one advantage of videos, I would assume that a lot of clients that you're working with feel they know you, right? There's a relationship. I know when I met you first time, I'm like, I know exactly who Paul and Susan are because I've seen you enough. So, how has that, helped just with lead generation business and just starting off from maybe a level playing field from the very beginning because there's a personality from their side already that they understand?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge because when you're putting videos out there, the people who call you have already decided, we know them, we like them. So I feel like the calls that come in are much more, people who already know what they're going to get. They know what they're expecting. If someone watches our videos and they're like, I don't like those two, they're not going to call us, right? So,
yeah.
So that,
they know what they're up against, right? If they're going to be calling you. Yeah.
I'm like, everyone knows what's going to happen when they call us, and they're going to expect some things from Paul, and they're ready for that, which is important.
So walk through that, like the bidet story. Like I got to talk about the bidet one. That's what the videos. So how did that come into play? Because that thing went viral. So.
Is that the one from Kohler? The
bidet, the bidet video. So, I mean, that video was funny because we were just it was a home we were building and we were just kind of at the house. And Paul, as he always does, just kind of spontaneously decided.
Proof of concept. That's what I want to see. I want to see, does the bidet actually hit the right target area? Because nobody really, put a camera under there and look. So I was like, well, I got the right pants on. Let's see what this thing does. I mean, it's just testing the product and showing that it actually is a reliable product and it works.
Yeah. So he sat full pants. So we were all in the master bathroom, tested out the bidet. And when he got up, it was a great aim. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
It was bullseye.
Yeah. And for guys out there, if you haven't used a bidet, you're missing out. Let me tell you something. Okay. Those things are incredible.
I mean, not to go sidetrack here, but it's funny. When I lived in Argentina, they all have bidets, right? I mean, everyone outside U.S. is like, why don't we have them? I know people want them in the toilet paper shortage that we had during COVID, but just the creativity to sit down and for Paul to say, let's see how this really works, just to make sure that this is an accurate system, right? It's just amazing.
It's tested for our clients, we want to make sure that it works correctly,
right. He was going to just keep testing that until it got it right.
That's it. I mean, again, but the simplicity of something like that and people seeing it, knowing that it's a great product we're putting in, and the silliness of kind of showing it that it works is what draws, I guess the videos was what draws the clients that want to work with us. That's what kind of weeds it out for us is like, I think, is that the people that call us have already researched us some or watched video or seen what we do. And I think the fact that Susan's design is always unbelievable and always different and always evolving is another reason why people constantly reach out to us. Because, a lot of people, I've heard her say this to clients like, oh, I love the tile you did in that house. Can we use that one in my bathroom? And she's like, no. And they're like, why? She's like, because that was picked for them and that's, special for them. But we're going to find one that's just as special for you. And we're going to do the same thing. So, I think the payoff is the silliness comes with, the beautiful finish and the effort that we put into making the house really feel special for that client.
I love that. And you know, what's interesting is as you're speaking about that, just that whole experience with the client, you know, as you're working through the entire process, how is that? Because as you mentioned, you're working through design, Susan, you're doing the construction, you know, some of this maybe, as you mentioned, investments, and you're doing the whole gamut here. So how are you organizing all that structure just into one house here?
I mean, for us, I feel like design has always been a natural part of the construction process. I mean, at our core, we're a construction company. I'm a licensed contractor, and I have always done design as part of the construction process. It just felt like kind of a natural thing. We typically don't take separate design only projects. We are design build. So if we're doing a project, we're also doing the design. And you know, I think for us, it's making the process easy for the client. You know, I always say, I'm not going to send you shopping unsupervised. I'm going to go with you, right? I'm going to help you pick everything. So just guiding the client through that process, for us, it's making it easy for them. Renovating is stressful. Building a house is stressful. And whatever we can do to make that process easier for them, that's kind of what we try to do. And we have Paul here making it tons of fun.
So, I mean, what that's important. I mean, the fun side's important, as you mentioned, because look, the reality is you're building in a tough climate, in a tough climate, right? In Boston, you know, the weather, you know, the industry is really challenging. And so for you guys to bring light on this, to say, hey, look, we're going to attract the ideal client for us because this is who we are and this is how we're doing it. And here's our video content to back it up.
Yeah. And when we start a project, we tell people, we're like, look, this is going to be stressful. This is, you know, it's fun at the beginning. You know, maybe you don't love it so much in the middle. At the end, it's very hard when it's almost done, but not quite done. And, you know, we try to really set those expectations. Like, this isn't fun, but it's worth it. I mean, it is fun, but it's stressful, right? It's you're displaced, your house is upside down. There's that whole piece of it where your life is kind of disrupted. But, you know, in the end, we have seen so many clients who in the end, they say, okay, it wasn't, you know, it was tough to go through, but in the end, it's always worth it. So for us, like, that's kind of what drives us and brings us through it.
Yeah. When I was pregnant, Brad, I didn't remember it after I gave birth. So it's like, you know, if you remember it, you wouldn't do it again. Right. So it's the same idea.
It's kind of what we tell clients. Yeah. It's like when you have a baby, you know, when you go through the birth, it's terrible, but then you forget all about it. It's all
another one. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
That's such a great analogy, right? It's so similar to home building.
Yeah. You've got what, 6?
We have 6, and you have what, 4, right?
Yeah, we have 4. Yeah, I'm actually one of 6 myself, and Paul's
one of 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So you both come from big families.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So how's that? So let me just ask this then. I mean, the time balance is one thing that we can get into, but as far as, you know, vetting clients, because what's interesting is, as you mentioned, I mean, you have realtor, the brokerage side, right? Yep. You have the investment side, you have the design side, the contracting side. Do you require certain clients to come through every channel, or what can they do part of that? Maybe just a design build, or how do you kind of eliminate those leads that come in?
Yeah, no, we have clients who do just real estate. We have clients who do just the design build part, and we have clients who, you know, some who do both. We have a project coming up right now that she purchased her home through us a few years ago, and now she's getting ready to renovate it. So, you know, those are separate companies. So we've always done, you know, regular, you know, consumer real estate, not always tied. Sometimes they're tied, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, we're like, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. You know, there's plenty of money to make, and you know, if a client comes to us, they don't have to do everything within our realm for us to take them on. You know, not everybody. You know, you might go to the store and get milk and get Oreos, and then the next time you might get a couple more things. You know, but you know, you don't want to be forced to do something like that. You know, it's
and sometimes clients come in, they're not sure. They might say, we might want to build, we might want to buy something and renovate, we might want to buy something and renovate it later. So they're not sure. So sometimes it's working them through that process. And sometimes people come in saying, we don't know what we want to do. Can you tell us what's our house worth? What would it cost if we did this to it to make what we want? And then what would it cost if we moved, or what would it cost if we rebuilt? So a lot of times we're doing those multiple, you know, analysis for people and kind of helping guide them through a decision of what the best path is.
It's incredible. I mean, there's so much value as you're speaking through those different channels. I mean, for me, you know, we're not at that level, right? And just to be transparent, I mean, we're a builder, and so when the client says, "Hey, ROI investment," right? You know, I don't have the MLS access. I'm not a realtor, right? So I have to kind of go through those arms, and so I would imagine that does bring a lot of value to your clients, that they can come in. You're super knowledgeable with all aspects of it, and so it just helps them make a better educated decision for what they want to do.
Yeah. And there's been times when people call us for a project and we'll be the first to say, hey, this is what it's going to cost. And this home isn't going to hold this value. So we actually don't recommend that you do this project. So sometimes that's the advice that we give. And we try to kind of be there as a consultant to say, okay, here are the possible paths that you can go down. And, this one might not be the best one,
And I think,
but you can do what you want, but here's the info.
yeah, I think a lot of, we focus on a lot of just what we do. There's a lot of good contractors out there. There's a lot of good builders, a lot of good designers. We just kind of focus on what we bring to what we do. So we're not like, hey, well, they're doing this, we got to do this. It's like, I think that's the thing, is we've kept on that road of just kind of what we think is nice and look at. And those are the people that come to us. They're buying what we're selling, I guess, if you want to, for lack of a better term, but
They want one of those bidets, Paul. That's what it is.
who doesn't?
They want Paul to test it out.
Yes.
Gladly.
Like, I want Paul in my house and testing that bidet.
I mean, it's funny because when you first start doing those videos, I remember going to a project to go meet these clients, and it was a generational. It was a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter, and they opened the door and they were so excited to meet us and like hugging us. And I'm like, it's the first time I've ever met them, and I was like, hi. So it's a little awkward at first because you don't know them, but they feel like they know you because they told us they watched us for probably 6 months prior. So, people. The difference is information is a lot easier to get nowadays than it was years and years and years ago. Like I remember buying cars and your kids, like, who's got the blue book? You got to know what the value is. Only the salesman at the dealership has the blue book. Well, now everybody's got the blue book, right? So you have to be very transparent with your clients. And I think that's what we really try to do, is say, look, this is going to be too much. You're going to spend too much, but if you plan on staying here forever, then that's your decision, or, how much value is this going to add to the house by spending this much money? So being ultra transparent with people, I think people aren't used to it. Essentially, when you come to a meeting and kind of,
because we're pretty blunt.
Yeah.
It's just you're with them for a long time. From day one, and we tell them, like, this is the first time we're meeting you, and we're, forget the architect and everybody else. We're here with you the longest,
right?
Like out of anybody.
So we have to get along.
Right.
If we don't, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, clients should interview us, and we do tell them to go meet other builders and talk with them. And we always invite people to come by our projects and look at them, and and because we're, our past clients are very happy to show the house because they're very proud of it and they're excited. So that's a testament to what, Susan brings with the design and everything and the team that we have. So I think it's important to be that transparent with them. So you're not, a lot of guys, I think, will just tell people what they want to hear. And then sometimes that, it can turn very ugly quickly. It's like, oh yeah, we can do a kitchen for 10 grand, no problem. And then it's like they get into it, and it's extra, and then the stress levels are so high for these people.
We try to keep our projects as low stress as possible.
Right.
It's amazing. Just that perspective, because when you think of, we're all in business, right? To get work, right? Like, that's what you're doing. You're doing video content, you're working, you're trying to get lead generation, but to have someone come in and for you to look at them and say, we're not going to take the job. And it's not because we don't like you or we want to work with you. It's just, it's not a great investment. You can put your money. To have that foresight. Think about it in the medical field. If you're to go into a specialist, and they're to look at you and say, you don't need any treatment, you don't need surgery, even though that's how they make a living, right? Just to get that good counsel. Really what it does is it builds you as a very ethical and not just ethical, but someone as like a trusted entity, right? Yeah. And how has that benefited you where you've looked at someone and just said, hey, this isn't a great deal? And it's not because we don't want to do it. It's just not a great deal for you.
Yeah. It's funny because we have a home that we're building right now. That's a spec home. We purchased the land and we're building it to sell.
Which I hate that word spec for the record.
Paul calls them spectacular.
They're spectacular.
Yeah.
We have a spectacular home that we're building.
Flip, they're all horrible. Flip is a horrible word. You think of flipping a hamburger or flipping the middle finger. It just should not be correlated with the house.
With the house.
Yes.
Yes. So we're very early in these stages, and we have an old client who was one of these cases where, X number of years ago, they had these plans drawn up. I looked at them and I looked at the plans and I said, we can do this. It's going to cost you this much. Your house is never going to hold this value. I said, not that I want to talk us out of a huge job, but I wouldn't spend this money. And they didn't do the project. And now they're actually purchasing one of the homes that we're building. And she even commented, she said, oh, I'm glad we didn't spend that money, because she said we wouldn't have recouped it even after so many years. So, so for us, it's just giving good advice, because so many times we go and someone will call us for a project and they'll say, we want to do something, but they may have already done something else that we might say, oh, we've got to tear that out now, or, or you've spent money on something that we now have to undo. So we try to kind of take a whole view of the house, of the client's goals, of how long are you going to be here? All those are a lot of the questions that we ask, so that we can get a view of what's the goal of the project, what's the long-term plan for the house, and, what makes sense for the client.
So do you ever have, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
So do you ever have clients that come to you like a JV, like a joint venture, and want to do something together? And have you ever done that with any of your clients? Like a partnership?
Funny you say that. We're in talks with some now. We haven't really gotten too far into that because we're control freaks, because the product that we put out is, and it's hard as a business owner.
It's
a lot of people aren't as invested as you because it's your business, which is, you can relate and understand. So it's hard to, like you said, relinquish that control to other people, but we have been getting a lot better at that. And, the guy that paints every day is better than the guy that doesn't. It's just, we try to keep in that mode of like putting the guys that are really good at what they do, let them do their thing. It's not yet, but I feel it's coming, to answer your question.
Well,
it's not far off.
Yeah, especially with all the different, avenues you have and the experience and knowledge, I would imagine that it is prone to someone coming in and say, hey, we want to partner with them. But at the same time, I could understand the resistance. I mean, I've been the same way, because you do have a brand, you have a product, and you want to make sure that it still fits, the Kadilak product, right? The AFT product.
Exactly.
I mean, that's super important.
Yeah, the biggest thing you build is your reputation.
Yeah. And
especially as a builder, right?
Mm-hmm.
All I heard as a kid is I hear this builder built this house and that guy's cheap, that guy's cheap, that guy's cheap. And we never wanted that, that reputation. We just wanted, they build nice houses. There's a few builders, if you said, oh, he builds a nice house, that's what I want people to say about us, is they build nice houses, not that guy's cheap, that guy's cheap.
So when you started this, I mean, could you see yourself already at this point? I mean, what was then goal when you both said, hey, let's jump into this and let's move forward?
So, when we jumped in on what?
As far as like just Kadilak Homes, because I know, and maybe we can give a little bit of the backstory too, Susan, because I know for you began in realty, right? That was like your early career, and then you built your own house. How has that evolved from that aspect of your career to now?
So my background, actually, my grandfather was a builder. My dad was a builder. So I kind of grew up kind of in the dirt. I don't know why they had us on the job sites as kids, but they did. And I just remember being on job sites.
It's a safe place to play, right?
Yeah. I like how they can play in the dirt. So I was always on job sites as a kid, writing estimates and stuff for my dad, and I was kind of doing that kind of stuff. And then when I was 20, I got into real estate, and then, still kind of involved in the construction business. And then when I was, I think 22 or 23, I just had this, like, I just want to build a house. And that was the first house that I built to sell. And I think coming from a family of builders and entrepreneurs, that never really, no other alternative really kind of came to my mind. I think getting a traditional job was probably more scary to me than jumping into a business.
Yeah.
So to me, it was just kind of, growing up in a family that everyone kind of had a business, just kind of felt like a natural thing for me.
Yeah, I think Susan's naive about failing. She just doesn't. It's not in
doesn't
her
care.
wheelhouse. Yeah, yeah. It's just.
I was like, we're doing this. Yeah,
we're doing it. We're gonna crush it. Whatever it is, we're gonna do it. It was just like, for her, it's never. It's always been the thought of failing doesn't even enter her mind. And I think that spreads through the company when people, get into the design and everything that we do. I think that mentality spreads a lot better than the negative mentality that sometimes happens.
Which is key. I mean, to be a good entrepreneur, that's really the attribute, right, Susan? Is that you have to have this mentality that, you're not worried about failure. You're not worried about risk. Like, you're the visionary, right? You're going to go and do this, and you have a great attitude. You're positive. And that's the thing. Like, that you're going to develop this because you can work hard, and, you're not intimidated by it, right? Which is a key attribute to that.
Right. And the way I always think about it is, we might try something. If it doesn't work out, then we'll try something else, right? We can always shift. We can always pivot. We can always move things around if we need to. I mean, when we first started, we weren't doing projects like we're doing now. We were doing very different projects.
Very different projects.
Yeah. So how's it evolved? What were you doing in the beginning as opposed to now?
Through the recession, we were taking projects that they were not pretty. They were
brutal. I was digging holes in basements, taking out wood lally columns,
doing structural work in old homes in Boston. there was nothing that we could put on Instagram. I can tell you that.
None of the jobs were even remotely close. They're an hour and a half away.
Yep.
It's just, you evolve in the trenches like that is how you say, I don't want to stay in this part of the business.
Right.
I want to evolve. And
that was Paul's kind of introduction to the business, because when we met, that was, those were kind of the projects that we were doing. And
So Paul's history, I mean, especially coming into that, I mean, what were you doing before?
So I was doing, when I met Susan, I was doing sales, but I was also waiting to get on the fire department. So it took me about 12 years to get on. I kept testing all the time, doing everything that I could. Finally, I got on, and then when I came out of the academy, I was like, I'm going to learn how to golf or something, because I'll have time. Yeah. And she was like, no, you're not. You're going to work. And I was like, and I was always handy and stuff, but never in construction like I am now. But Susan's love of homes, it kind of sucked me into it too, and things that I've realized and learned along the way is, when people, maybe somebody gets a job when they come out of school and they end up being at that job for 20 years or something, not anticipating that, right? Maybe they weren't a school. I'm not a school person. Susan is, so that was never my thing. But, then they're in this job they don't like their house because it's falling apart. So it's like this vicious circle for them that it's hard to get out of. So when I see how these homes change for people and we see them later on, or they sent us a text message on Thanksgiving or something saying, we love our house, it's really fulfilling to hear people, and flattering to hear people send us those kind of messages and relate, like, we haven't left our house since you guys finished, because we love it so much, right? Whereas I feel like people go out a lot when they don't like their home because they don't want to be in it because they don't love it. Susan and I don't go out a lot because we truly love our house, so I feel like if you can relay that to a client and they understand that, it takes, even one of the houses recently that we did on the show, there was a couple across the street. It was a house we bought to tear down and rebuild and sell. We tore it down, built it, and then the girl was floating around for a little bit, and I kept talking to her, and I told Susan at the very beginning when the house was getting done, I go, they're buying the house.
I said, the neighbors never buy the house. There's no way they're buying the house.
I said, they're buying the house. I'm telling you. So fast forward, the house is up, the siding's on. Now they come to us and they're like, we're interested in buying the house. So we said, okay.
And they're the neighbor.
They live across the street. They watch a lot of the process. So we said, look, you can buy the house, but on two conditions. One, you can't see inside until it's fully done. And two, you can't pick anything. Now, her and I are both like, there's no way they're going to agree to this. That's crazy, right? So they thought about it and they met us and came back and they said, we really thought about what you guys said. And we've been looking for about 2 or 3 years. And every builder we talked to just said, pick what you want, we'll put it in. And you guys did not say that to us. You guys told us you wanted to handle that. And it makes us feel like you're more invested in the project. So we're okay with that. And I think her and I were just like, huh?
That's amazing. Yeah,
totally. Wasn't expecting that. That was not the answer.
I said they're definitely going to say no. There's no way they're going to agree with us.
Yeah,
and they're super nice people, and the reveal with them was even more incredible because we literally brought them into the kitchen with blindfolds, and they pulled them off, and it is very emotional to be in the room with people that they're overwhelmed with joy and happiness and seeing it for the first time, They were crying. I mean, you feel it in the room. It's really. It was
also
cool.
This was 3 days before the closing, so and they were just seeing what they were, what they were.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, Susan's so good about she had some conversations with them, and the woman told her she likes colors and stuff, so she really incorporated a lot of that into the house, knowing they were buying it, and they were just. We said, hopefully this meets your expectations, and they said this more than meets our expectations. So you feel the pressure as a builder to really, shine and not disappoint, for a client.
Especially when we don't let them in.
Right.
We have to make sure this is everything they were hoping and more.
But yeah, I mean, I suggest to other builders, if you can experience that, it's just a different feel, and you can truly understand a client's thought process when they, a lot of times they're coming through the whole time, but when they see it for the first time, staged, done, this is my house, and they, it's almost like they can't believe it. And, people work hard for their money and work their whole life to get a house, hopefully. And everybody deserves a house. That's kind of how we feel, that's our motto.
It's amazing. And it's even more incredible you're able to have it at that extreme, at that level. Because in my experience, I mean, we've had never to that level, because it's been where the designer And us, we're okay, clients, once we get to like the last 8 weeks, you can't come in the house, and then we'll furnish it. They can't see it. So they, maybe a year and a half ago, they picked the furnishings, but now once it's all staged and set up, then they bring them for the reveal. And it's like super emotional, right? Especially where a client, we have one client where they're, their whole life, they're like, we had always bought used things, bought used furniture. And this was like our first time that we really went like all in and got everything that we wanted, and it's just super emotional. And so that's really neat, but never at the experience where you convince them, hey, you can't pick anything and you're going to come see this, just like on HGTV.
Yeah.
It's more pressure for Susan, I would say, for me, but it's not. It's more pressure for Susan because, she feels like at the end of the day, her interest is she really wants them to love the home. Like, she'll still question it all the time. And I'm looking around, I'm like, this house is sick. Are you kidding me? I'm like, this is beautiful. Of course they're going to love it. She's like, she always has that humble nervousness.
I was like, what if they don't like it?
Yeah.
I mean, she's humble, very humble. And, if I do something even like mediocre, I'm like, where's my trophy? I should get something. Is there a ribbon waiting for me or something somewhere? But I think that's why our relationship works well. I have no reason to be cocky, but I feel that, I have a strong female presence in my life,
Keeps you on track. We all need that. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
So how, you mentioned early on too, how you did these projects that were questionable. I shouldn't say questionable, but we know we're at, like, I was the same way. I mean, if you saw the pictures we were doing AFT in the very beginning to what we are now, right? And all of us have to start somewhere, no matter what that is. So when did the time come, especially with both of you involved, where you're like, okay, it's time to make our first hire. We need to start, we need some more help, business is growing, and then how did you make that decision on what position, and go through that process?
So what I want to say is that it was this really well organized, thought out thing.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like, as we were going, things were going fast, and it was like, okay, we just need to
we need some help.
Yeah, we need some help. And, sometimes I look up and I'm like, oh, how long have they been here? What's going on? I mean, our field crew we've had for, our guys have been with us for, a long time, even through a lot of those not so pretty jobs. And we have a lot of our, guys out in the field who have been with us for a long time. And then, as things have grown, as the projects have come on, the office has grown, and it's just kind of been, just kind of a natural thing. And, it was one of those things that, I'm sometimes just stepping on the gas, not really thinking, okay, we got to do this. Let's just do it. So maybe I didn't step back and think about it as much as I should have.
I would step back and go, what, is she out of her mind? Like, what are we doing
yes,
here?
the answer is yes.
Because I remember being tortured by her by carrying in 75 sheets of sheetrock into a project on covered in snow. Or, when we actually first met, the first time I went to go pick her up, she had a dump truck in her driveway, and I was like, whose dump truck is that? She's like, mine. And I was like, huh. I was like, this is interesting. I got to see what this is about.
Yeah, that's so unique.
And then as we were dating more and I started getting into the jobs, I would drive the thing and I'm like, this thing's going to kill me. It would just start shaking violently for no reason on like the highway. Like, this is, these are the growing pains of like a business, right? You're like, I don't want to do that again, so.
I told him the dump truck is like, when you have a dog and the dog doesn't like you, it's bad. And the dump truck didn't kill you. So I take that as a good sign.
Yeah. It makes you stronger.
Yes.
It absolutely does, but I think it's also, just like a house, right? You have a plan, right, Brad? When you build a house, you get a set of plans, and then everything works on paper, but it doesn't always work in the real world, right? You could have your whole business plan of how your model is going to be, but it has to get massaged and tweaked as it goes, and that's how we build, and that's how our business also evolves. We also take a lot of input from the people that work with us, in the office, in the field, our producers, our camera guy, anybody that works with us, if they have something to say that could benefit the whole scope of whatever we're looking at to do, we listen, because, we also want to show appreciation for, people. I feel like people need to feel appreciated, and they bring more to the table as well and work harder for you when you really truly show that it's an appreciation, and they're not just a stat on your books, that they are, a person that, you care about. It's not just about.
I think it's also like respecting their expertise.
Right.
I could go to the tile, to our tile guy and say, hey, I want to install this. Like, this is what I'm thinking. And
he goes, oh,
yeah.
herringbone again.
Yes. But, you know, sometimes he might say, you know, what if we make this little tweak? What if we do it like this? You know, and a lot of times it's, you know, most of the time we say, yes, that's going to make it better. Let's do it that way. So, you know, I think it's, you know, a lot of people on our team, you know, we might have an idea or something we want to do, and just having that extra input of, okay, here's how we can make it better. Here's, you know, or here's something else we should do. You know, I think that's important to listen to that.
They keep you grounded, because you might have these wacky ideas and they're like, what are you talking? What if we try this? You're like, oh yeah, let's do that. That's a better way.
I went to the office yesterday and the girls were waiting for me and they said, you know how we talked about that the other day? I was like, yeah. They're like, can we please not do that? We think that's a bad idea. And I was like, okay, fine. Everyone thinks it's a bad idea. Get rid of it.
Yep. It's amazing. Well, it goes back to earlier. You said, you know, they work with us, not for us. And so just respecting their expertise and creating that culture is huge. So how, you know, now how big is the company? What does it look like now from the original 2 to where you are today?
We're at 3 now, from 2 to 3. We've grown extensively.
So in the office, we have,
I don't even know now. I'm trying to
count. I think we've got five or six full time in the office. And on the real estate side, we're pretty small on the real estate side. We have 7 agents on the real estate side. And then out in the field, we have,
you know how it is.
I can't even count. Yeah, I can't even count.
Lots of guys, you know. And there's a certain, I don't even want to say pressure, but you're performing for clients, but you also want to make sure these guys, you know, because they're taking care of us, we want to take care of them and keep giving them work, and we want them to keep doing work and keep evolving with us. You know, even our videos from when they first started were horrible, and they have gotten better. You know, even the first a video guy we hired wasn't really having the same vision as us, because he was kind of outsourced, and Susan's like, we're bringing this in house.
Right.
We have to be, you know, collect. So that's what happened. We hired Evan, who's been with us for, I think he's coming up on 5 years now.
Wow.
And, you know, he's like, what do you guys want to do? We're like, we don't know.
We have no idea.
We need equipment. Like, you know, we're like, give us a list. Yeah. So he like made a list of equipment that he, you know, gave us some options, and then, you know, it evolved from there, really.
And that was a big change too, was having it outsourced versus having it in-house made a big difference, because, you know, we were outsourcing. It was kind of, you know, limited in what we could do. So I think bringing it in-house just kind of helped us be able to work through figuring out, you know, what it could be.
Yeah. And it's like from social to stream, you know, like that kind of involvement that we've had, you know, of doing just these kind of funny videos on Facebook to going to the streaming app. You know, it's like people kept asking for more and more. I'm like, really? I'm like, they want to see more? Like, not so much for what Susan does, yes, but for my stupidity, I was like, they really want to see more of that? And Susan's like, yes, they do. I mean, Kohler let us go to the store, and you know, we did a bunch of stuff with Supply New England, and then Kohler let us go in and do a bunch of stuff on a Sunday. I'm like, I want to take a shower in your showroom with my clothes on. They're like, yes, you know, so, you know, I was like, cool. I'm like, all right. So, you know, it's just a, you know, fun way to show things. There's a lot of awesome products, and I feel like you got to pull out the passion, you know, like all the women clients, they want the beauty, the pretty, the colors, the design. The guys, I want a garage, a big TV, and a basement, you know, something along those lines. And they want the techie stuff. I want to be able to shut my lights off from my phone. I want to turn my thermostat on. I want to be able to see my house with the cameras. And that's what I've learned over this period of time, is like the guys want the tech. And as long as the wives have all the pretty stuff that they want, everybody's happy.
I think everybody wants the pretty.
Yeah. Even though they may not tell you, right? Yeah, it's
right.
that way, Susan.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how you've picked up on that, right? You have to understand, you know, what the client wants and what they, you know, and you can position yourself as a company. And this goes back to the app, because what, you know, throughout this conversation, I really understand the app, because the one challenge with social media, with all the benefits, is it's an overall landing page. So it's kind of scatterbrained, if you will, right? Like if you go to my Instagram, I mean, you have photos, you have videos, you have, you know, reels. I mean, whatever. It could be all over. Whereas I'd imagine the app now, as and you said this early on, Susan, is that people, the way they consume content, you know, a lot of us, you know, when we were younger, us three, or having to watch an episode, wait a week for the new one to come out. But nowadays, no, the whole season comes out on Netflix or Hulu, and then everyone's watching it. Like they're consuming it quickly. And so is that how the app has helped just really create a landing page for all your videos and really organize that?
So the app has the Renovation Rekindle episode. So there's 10 episodes on there, and then there's a bunch of shorter pieces of content. But yeah, it's just like one place. It has 10 half-hour episodes on there. So you can just, you know, see all the episodes straight through, or, you know, whenever. But it's exactly that. It's created a place where it's like, okay, it's accessible. It's everything's in one place, and it's, it's all organized, because like you said, on social media, sometimes it's, where's this video? Where's that video? Or I saw this video, I can't find it. So, having it in one place where it can be accessible, it has been, it just keeps it from being that scatterbrain, like you said.
Well, because social media can be a bully sometimes, right? Because it's like you're on whatever platform you're using. It's like they have their own rules. Oh, you want to come to this club? Well, you got to do this. Okay. Oh, you want me to show the stuff? Well, you got to do this now. Oh,
yeah.
Well, now our clothing, now our dress code changed. So now you have to wear something else, So you're just like, okay. And you're trying to like constantly keep up with it. Because, like Instagram's like a trophy account, right? It's like, we get some business and stuff from there, but everybody goes to look at your page and see what it is. And then Facebook's got video,
I think it used to be like more pictures, and now
it did, right?
Then it went to videos, and then it went to reels. So it's like constantly, the content's always changing.
And that's the thing. I think that has also helped us evolve to how people consume things. That these companies evolve their platforms all the time. And again, it's like behavior of what people do and their patterns. It's like, you got to kind of stay in tune with that. But like you said, having a landing spot that they can go and see all our stuff is, it's very good.
And consume it in the way that they're used to consuming it. They can stream it. They can, however, and it's on demand. So that was important to have it that way.
Yeah, we also do birthday parties and stuff when people need it, anything like that. Bar mitzvahs, birthday parties,
it's like
anything.
You're like the wedding singer over here.
We're very attainable, just so you know.
Well, what's interesting about that, you mentioned this, Paul, is that like as you're chasing the algorithms, the pay for play, whatever it is through these apps, it's constantly changing, right? And you're trying to play this funny game. For you, it's like, no, look, you come to our profile and here's the link. It goes right to our app. It's right in our profile page. And so you're creating an easy transition for people to go find that content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go through so much challenge of trying to find you. You got to make it easy for people. Just like the layman's terms for me with the construction. It's like the easier you can make it, the more people will stay in tune and watch you, the more people they'll follow you, and the more people feel comfortable with you. Because I feel like the majority of people at the end of the day, like Brad, we've seen the houses you build. We build shacks comparatively to what you build.
Your homes are so gorgeous.
Your homes are stunning, and we are going to come out and check one of them out at some point.
You need to get out here, yeah.
100%. They're beautiful, and it's like, you're a very down to earth guy, very nice guy, very down to earth. You don't have that attitude because you build these high end homes that you're like, I can't do this. It's like, creating, that's what draws people, I think, to you, is that even like doing these beautiful projects, you're a normal guy. And
I think that's important in business right now, because people want to know who are they calling? What are they going to get when they call? So I think it's, it's super important.
Well, I love that you brought that up, and this isn't about me, but I'd say, as I've networked with other, people, whether they've had success in life, I've met some, and even some of my clients. Fortunately, some of my clients are incredibly successful people and beyond down to earth, right? And not all of them are like that. I've had some that aren't that way. We can all relate. And other people in business, right? And I've seen other people that I've been, in our peer group, like you and I, on this platform of social media. What's great about social media is it's connected us, right? It's connected me with so many people that have helped refine and better my business and my program and my team. And I've seen and it's not that it goes to their head, but they hit a level of whatever that is to them, whether it's followers, whether it's projects, no matter what it is. And they change. And that's something where I've seen like just a difference there and this is why I love social media, as you're talking about, where we can create our own brand. We can create our own message, right? And to show, hey, this is our team. We're super transparent. This is how we do things. This is who we are. And it doesn't matter. And I tell clients, I've said it on podcasts, I don't care if you're spending $100,000 or $10 million. I want to work for good people. And you both understand this more than anyone. It's a hard industry.
Totally.
We make it fun. You both make it fun, but it's not easy.
Right.
Totally.
Right. And to us, that's super important. And, you've got to make sure that you're a good fit with the client, because you're just with them for so long. And it's funny because some people watch our videos and stuff and they're like, is Paul like that all the time? Like, or does he just act like that for the camera? I'm like, no, the camera's there because he acts like that all the time. So, I'm like, that's what you're getting. Like, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get some weird videos from Paul. You're going to get, some funny things. And, and I just think it's important that, people want to know. They want to know who they're getting and what they're getting.
I think it's a branding strategy that we don't even really think about, because we're just being ourselves, but it naturally attracts those clients that are similar to us. It's like, if there's somebody that's like, Paul's an idiot, which I'm sure there's a club somewhere out there that thinks that, they wouldn't call us, right? They're not going to call us and have us come look at a job, but the people that find us entertaining and like what we do, that's the people that call us. So it's like I said, it's kind of a branding avenue that, it's easier just like, hey, this is us. If you like it, give us a call. If you don't, we understand, so it's kind of nice to put yourself out there and do that. And that's the best advice I could say for other people is like,
right.
Look, you're going to have moments where you screw up and look like an idiot and so forth, but it makes you a person. Everybody screws up. Everybody's human. You got to take the good with the bad. And believe me, I've made a lot of mistakes. Trust me, a lot. But that's how I learn, is by making those, mistakes.
So how does, what systems are you using now? Because you mentioned just how much your company and staff has increased, even, 7 on the realty side, everything else. I mean, so how are you organizing all the different entities, structures, clients, everything in between?
So
with a pen and a paper.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 pens and a pencil.
Sometimes 2 pens.
In case the pen
Maybe a
runs out of
pencil.
ink.
I will say that I still love, I actually went back to a handwritten planner this year because I actually really like the handwritten planner because I can see everything. Sometimes the one on my phone, I just can't see everything or read everything. It makes me crazy. But I actually use, Google Drive for the most part. We have a lot of our internal forms and things that we've just had over the years for budgets and things like that. And we have our own sort of system that, that we've created. So it's, I would say that's, I have every
evolves.
project kind of organized, and I know the way it is, because it's funny because clients will come in and they'll say, how do you remember all that? And I say, oh no, I don't remember anything. It's because I put everything in the one place.
Yeah.
I know how it's organized, and that's, and that's just, we have our own sort of system. We don't use any particular software or anything.
No, I think that's the thing for us. I think handwriting it, you do retain it better.
We do keep everything electronically. But...
Right, because like, you always have something on your phone, you have a thought, you put it down, then you get 10 text messages, an email, and then that you're distracted from what your thought was you were trying to get down on paper. We actually have a cell phone jail in our office for meetings that people have to put their phones in because it's just super distracting, right? To get,
and I'm the worst.
She is the worst, like literally, like her screen. Sometimes I have to take her phone and put it down so she can't see it light up. Because when it lights up, it's like
the anxiety goes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like somebody needs something.
Right.
I know.
Right. So it's like being able to like actually put that aside for an hour, half hour, and like get into a conversation about whatever it is you're trying to have a meeting on. It's way more productive, and then you're actually focused on what you're trying to do and not focusing on all the distractions surrounded by it.
I love that, the cell phone gel. I haven't heard that before. And I'd imagine as you come in or you have a production meeting or whatever it is, you could put everything to the side. They check their phones in, and now you're being efficient. Not everyone's distracted.
Yeah. Every meeting starts pretty much where we, either, put it on focus mode or, put it in the cell phone jail, or, computers closed unless, we specifically need it for something, because it shortens your meetings quite a bit when all the distractions are gone.
That's incredible. And so what's next? I mean, before we get into what's next, I mean, how do you manage with everything you have going on with each other, 4 kids, like how do you find any balance in that?
We're trying to get more hours in a day.
We're trying to see if we can extend the day. No, I mean, we try not to kind of harp too much. We're in a routine with the kids and with kind of everything we do, and we just we just kind of keep focused and keep going. I mean, sometimes the day is all about the kids, sometimes it's all work, and it's just we just keep moving forward. We have,
I mean, too, having 6 kids is just different parts of your life where you're more restricted to things than others. Before you have kids, you're like, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to do this, I'm going to, then you have your first kid and you're like, I can't do any of that when I want to, that's your biggest change. Then you have your second kid and it's like, not like double the work, it's like 100 times more the work, right?
Yeah.
The second kid's way more work than having 2. And then after that, like our kids are older, so it's like those growing pains and then going through those temporary moments, so to speak, is what we like to call them, right? Because your kids being little, it's a temporary amount of time, right? So it's like you got to enjoy that time with them too. We also want the people that work with us to not be so hampered by I can't imagine how much video our guys have to watch with us. I get annoyed with myself sometimes. I'm like, I can't even be around me right now. Where do I have to go? Where can I get away from myself? And these guys have to watch me all the time in their editing and stuff. So it's like, kudos to them, because I couldn't do it.
I would say with the kids, like our older son plays hockey, you know, our young son has different sports. And I would say at least one of us makes it to most of their practices and games and everything. And we just, you know, sometimes it's the days, you know, are long, but we try to fit in everything that we can and just kind of prioritize every day.
Yeah, I mean, we all have the same thing in common. That's 24 hours in a day. You know, everybody gets to choose what they do with that, and you know, we just try to make the best of what we can with it. You know,
and being a control freak, it's very difficult to delegate. But I've been learning. I've been getting better.
Yeah.
Son, you're not allowed to come out yet. You have to wait. I'm not done with this.
Right.
Yeah. It's 6:46. You still have 2 minutes, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So who, you know, from that side too, just the social media side, are you both running that? Have you outsourced that? I mean, not outsourced it, but internally, do you have someone else doing all your social media?
Yeah. So I, at the very beginning, I would say it was, just me.
Let's be very clear. I don't run any of the social media. I'm just going to put that out there now. They figure out how to do the stuff, you know, take whatever I do and make it content. But, you know, the team does that. I'm afraid to even go on the accounts because I'm going to mess something up. They're like, the algorithm and this, that. And I'm like, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing. Yeah. I'm going to go back to like finding the voice changer app that I want to sound like Bane or something. You know? I let them handle it. They're a lot better at it.
Yeah. So now as the office has grown, we've gotten, more help with that, and, just our, our whole team that, that works on it, because it's a lot. It's, we're on a bunch of different platforms, and, creating the content and then posting it, and then, figuring out what's going to go out when, and, and what the algorithm wants now. Are we doing pictures? Are we doing reels? Like what are we doing? What's happening? How many hashtags? So today it's 30, tomorrow it's 5, and next week it's 12, right? It's like trying to keep up with all that. So, so it's not just me anymore. There's a few of us who help with, kind of putting it all together and planning, what that's going to look like.
That evolution of change, I feel like, of just, used to have a job and you would have that same job and you would do that same thing every day. Right now, it's just jobs change
every
so
3
much.
months.
It's
amazing.
They constantly evolve no matter what the role could be. And what's in social media, I feel like it's a big, piece of that is, people, it's like expect the unexpected type mentality, because that's what it is. You're like, okay, just when you start to think you get some algorithm figured out, you don't. It changes.
It changes.
Yeah. There was one point on Facebook, I think when we first started, our videos were under a minute. And then at one point, this thing came out and they were like, they want them to be 10 minutes long. And our video guy was like, are you crazy? And I was like, that's what it says. That's what we're doing. That's, and we're going to figure it out. But, of course, putting a 10-minute video today, no one would, like, that would not work out. But just, it's different times and different points. It's just different, keeping up with what kind of content needs to go out.
It's just I think for me, it's the distractions. That's what I see. The people get distracted, even with social media. They're watching a TikTok or something, and then they get distracted from something else that comes up on their phone. It's controlling the distractions around you is how you can really focus on building your business, your brand, the people. And, it's so much easier to get, it's like being negative, right? It's a lot easier to be negative than positive. It's almost like sometimes people just attune to that. But when you start thinking differently, and your mentality changes, like you said, attitude is gratitude, when you start looking at those pieces and you're like, okay, it's okay to be positive and meet other people like that. And that is a good thing. It's okay to think like that. You don't always have to think when's the shoe going to drop, so to speak. And controlling those distractions are a huge piece, I think, to keeping everybody in tune with, kind of what you're doing. Because it's just so easy. Your head just constantly feels like it's on a swivel, whether it's life or work or social media or, whatever it is, right? It's just like you're constantly chasing that butterfly, trying to catch it. And you're like, wait a minute here now,
The best iOS update was the focus mode, the work mode. Love that.
Yeah, that's right. It's
I have
true.
squirrel mode, actually.
Squirrel mode for Paul.
Squirrel mode, yeah. It says squirrel mode specifically, but...
Well, I know you play that off lightly, but the reality is, as much fun as you both have, I know you're extremely targeted. You're extremely dedicated. You really have created amazing business, and it's been fun to watch from afar to see your growth, and then even more so to dive into today. And I just can't thank you both. But for those listening, what's upcoming and exciting?
I mean, we're just, we finished the first season of Renovation Rekindle. We're in the middle of filming the second one right now. So that's still going. And we're just constantly working on different things. We have a bunch of, as usual, I have 7,000 ideas that we're working on, and we're thinking about other things. So they all love when I come in and I'm like, guys, I have a new idea. Let's do this. And they're like, okay, here comes crazy.
See, I'm old school. I'm not good on the emails and so forth. I'm much better in person. That's how I grew up. We didn't have the keyboard warriors, so to speak, So when I get in front of people, that's where I shine. I'm much better. My personality shows. So it's just funny when we've met some of these companies that have gone with sponsorship, some of these ideas I'm pitching to these executives, I'm like, I get an idea. And they're just like, we like that. And I'm like, really? I'm like, because when I listen to it, I'm like, that's not a good, it sounds dumb for their brand. They're a really good company, but they're like, yeah, we like that a lot, So I'm like,
right. I mean, it's funny because Paul laughs and he says, what I do is dumb, but I'm like, but it's, it's entertaining. There's value in that. There's value in being like, okay, I could watch something boring or I could watch something fun. That gives me the same information. Of course, it's, that's why we call him the CFO. He's the chief fun officer.
The chief fun officer.
Put the FU in fun.
And it adds a layer to everything we do. So I think it's good.
Well, I couldn't think of a better way than the FU and fun for Paul to end that. So with that said, where can our listeners find you?
So we are all of our social media. Our last name is Kadilak. So we're our
with a K. You got to make sure you spell it right.
K, yes, 2 K.
Yeah.
Yes.
Starts Kadilak. So we're at Kadilak Homes. The app is called Renovation Rekindle, and that is on any app store,
iOS, Android, Roku,
all of that. It's got the 10 episodes on there, so you can find all that there.
And stay tuned for season 2.
Can't wait. I know you're filming now, so you can't give us any info or insight on that, but we'll definitely stay tuned for season 2. So can't thank you both enough for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Brad.
your time. We appreciate the generosity of your time today, talking with us about nonsense. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
And keep that jawline chiseled, man. Things great.
I'll work at it.